So we understand the jury's verdict. We don't agree with it necessarily, but we understand it.
Confirms to us.
And the case doesn't stop here. Ron Thomas has had many challenges in his past, and he's not going to let go of this challenge. When officers kill his son, he's going to make sure that justice is done somehow, somewhere in a courtroom. And we're going to proceed with this case in a civil courtroom where the proof is not as difficult as it is in a criminal courtroom, where we only need to show not beyond a reasonable doubt, but just preponderance of the evidence. When you think about what it is that Kelly was doing that day, it started out with nothing more than a conversation, just banter. And Kelly was comfortable with police officers. His dad, his grandfather, his uncles, all police officers. The last person he ever thought would kill him, would beat him to death, were police officers. So he thought this was just a friendly banter. And as the officers were joking around with him, he joked back. But then you heard him call for his dad. 31 separate times he said, "Dad, help me, please. Dad, help me. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy." 31 separate times he called for his dad. On 30 different occasions, he said, "Please, please, sir, please." He begged for forgiveness, and he was given no forgiveness. You know, he said, "I'm sorry," over and over again. He did everything he could to convey to those officers that he's no threat to them. But the officers just would not relent, and they came after him with full force. And Officer Wolf, who was charged in this case, but later dismissed because of the not guilty findings yesterday, was the officer that threw the elbow strikes that broke bones in Kelly's face, broke his zygomatic process, the cheekbone, broke his nose, broke the ethmoid process, which is deep inside the nose, broke his ribs with knee strikes. And these officers, as far as the criminal justice system is concerned, in the state court level, they're free. But we're hopeful that the federal government will step in, and Ron will speak to that. I wanted to just show you this one picture here. This picture here is within a couple of years of this incident. This is a picture about 2009. Here's Ron. They're gone. They were out marlin fishing right off the coast here. There's Kelly, and there is Kelly's grandfather, who just passed away, by the way, and his funeral will be this Friday. He was a police officer. His father, so Kelly's great-grandfather, was a police officer. Kelly's uncles were police officers. So the last person Kelly thought would beat him to death were people that wore badges. But unfortunately, he was met with cowardly violence. When you think about an Officer Cicinelli using a taser, grabbing it after tasing him a few times, after stunning him with it a few times, taking the butt of a taser and repeatedly smashing on Kelly's face. And if you'll take notice of the photos, the same eye that Officer Cicinelli had lost is what Officer Cicinelli went after. And when you look at Kelly Thomas's face and eye, that eye is completely bludgeoned and obliterated by these severe pistol whipping impacts. It's a cowardly act when other officers are holding Kelly down for Cicinelli to go over them all and just repeatedly strike Kelly in the face. These ex-cops are ex-cops for a reason. They're no longer with the force. They should never be on another force because they are a danger to the public. We have a civil rights case that's been filed and will go forward. These officers avoided taking the stand in front of this jury. They didn't have to answer any hard questions about why they did what they did. They could do that in a criminal courtroom where they could take the fifth and avoid taking the stand, but they can't do that in a civil trial. I'll be calling each one of them to the stand in Orange County and let a jury see the whole story, the full story of what happened, not abbreviated portions. In a criminal case, there are many restrictions as to what can and cannot be introduced against defendants. Many of those restrictions are relaxed in a civil case. So I've already set the depositions of all those 6 officers. I've sent out notices. So we'll be deposing them each under oath and then putting them on the stand and having them explain why they did what they did. They can't hide behind the Fifth Amendment in a civil trial. We won't let them. And Kelly will eventually get justice. I know that Ron has heard over and over again, and he sat through this trial, and I know he's got a lot to say, and I'm going to turn this over to Ron for a few words.
When I heard those verdicts, I had already prepared myself for the worst, and then the worst was realized. For everything that's happened, for all the people I've talked to, the thousands of people who have supported around the world, and there's so much disbelief that we couldn't even get excessive force. You take a deadly weapon, blunt force instrument, and you bludgeon somebody's face, the possibility of death is real, and that was brought out by Rackauckus. Kelly did nothing to deserve being beat in the face with a deadly instrument. He didn't deserve any of this. But I cannot believe they didn't get at least excessive force. Now I'm hopeful that when the Department of Justice steps in, as they have already notified they're going to do, that we can prevail. If that part fails, we'll certainly go after them. We're going to anyway with the civil process. I think it's very important that the federal government, when they step in, that they do find reason to charge these people and bring them into federal court. That's really what we want as a family. As far as what we do next, I look at this like a prize fight. It's not over. We still have several rounds to go. We've been stopped so far, but that's just in a process. That's just a criminal portion of it, which was the most important to me, the most important. But I will not stop until we get justice for Kelly, and that's the rest of these, the federal level and the civil process. We need to get justice for him.
The fact of the matter is, in this criminal case, much of the evidence was truncated because it's a criminal case and because of some of the rulings that were made in the court. Though most of that evidence will be coming into the civil case. I want to just show you a clip that many of you have already seen, and if you could play that, Dave. Dave Schultz, who's our audiovisual guy. And this is a clip towards the end of the beating where Kelly's already been subdued. He's under the pressure of numerous officers piling up on him. And he's calling out. He's calling out for help. He's calling out for Ron. And as soon as you're there, Dave, tell me. We'll give you the heads up as soon as we get there. Here you go. Kelly Thomas that night, clip. He said, "Dad, help me. They're killing me." He said, Dad, 31 times. He said, "Sir, please." And then, okay, 30 times. He said, help me, God, 26 times. "I'm sorry." He pled with them. He said, I'm sorry, 15 times. This is a young man that was fleeing for his life. He was begging them to let him live. I just want to say that we are very grateful that the district attorney did take this case on himself personally, that he tried this case, did the best he could under these difficult circumstances, and his department did the best under these difficult circumstances. And I know that he gave it his best, and we believe that if more of the evidence is allowed in, that there will be a different result. Are you ready? Right. Here he is over and over again, thinking that somehow, some way, Ron would just appear out of nowhere and come to his rescue. And this is what Ron has to live with. That's what Ron has been living with ever since that night when he learned about what happened to his son. 31 times his son calling for him, knowing that my dad's a ranger, my dad's an ex-cop, my dad will be here to help me. At one point, Kelly, in his despair, even called out for the ex-sheriff Corona to help him. He called out for the sheriff. Can you imagine how badly brutalized this young man was, this mentally ill young man, who should be afforded a little more humanity, a little more kindness than he was that night. But telling him, I broke my legs. Okay, sir, when they say lay down, but they're not giving him a chance to do that. And what would happen if they just let him go? He's shirtless. They're not afraid of him having a weapon on him. They've got him badly beaten. There's a pool of blood on the ground. They just let him go. What would happen? Where's he going to go? He's not a threat to anybody. Those officers weren't afraid of Kelly Thomas hurting them. They just wanted to kick his ass, and they took it way too far. He just wanted to put those gloves on so he could F him up, and he went too far. And these other cops came, and they just piled on, until you have somebody like Cicinelli come in, and the cowardly act, while Kelly's still down, being held down, bludgeon him over and over and over with a taser. Blood of a taser. Right. I'm going to do this real quick. In that these officers knew that they had DARs in them, digital audio recorders. They knew that everything they were saying is being recorded. They knew everything Kelly is saying is being recorded. So when they say things like, he's fighting, we can't let him go, he's going to fight. He's fighting, stop resisting. All that is for the audio recorder that they have on them, so that later on they could say, look, we thought he was fighting. We even said so at the time. It's just not right. You hear that? Where they say he's going to fight. He's going to fight. They know they've got him down. They know they've got him cuffed. He's got no fight. He was never fighting with them. You know, he was resisting getting beat is what he was doing. That's all he was doing. And yet they're still saying he's going to fight. He's going to fight. That's a bunch of BS. They know better. They're doing it all for the benefit of their dollars, their digital audio recorders. So that later they could say this man was fighting. There's no fighting here. They're piling on him after having been beaten in the face, taser, and then all the broken bones. Just play around. You can see the pool of blood. Now at this point, not only do they have him cuffed, but they also have a hobble where it ties his legs and his hands together with another instrument. And so they've hobbled him. And they've laid him down where all the rules say, once you hobble him, you got to let him sit so he can breathe. And they've kept him down. See, still, all for the cameras, all, because they know they're being videotaped, and they know they're being audio taped, claiming that they're afraid he's going to fight. They basically killed him. He's brain dead at this stage. And they did not find a single substance, alcohol, drugs, anything in his system. And yet they treated him like he was high on drugs, and he never was. And when the emergency medical personnel came, the first thing they did is they pointed out the bruises and the cuts they had from striking him and wanted treatment. Never pointed out to the man that's dying there by the patrol car until the EMT asked what's going on with him and went over to help. And by then it was too late. This is Cicinelli confessing at the scene. I just started smashing his face to hell. What more do we need? Why would you smash a man underground that is no threat to you? Why would you smash his face to hell? Unfortunately, the real answer is this is a brutal man, Cicinelli, who himself has suffered and is suffering from post-traumatic disorder because of what happened to him in the past. He should have never been allowed to have a position out in the streets because he's out in the streets with a taser or with a gun, he's just going to go off.
Mr. Thomas, you were there every day, I know. Was there at any point in this trial where you said to yourself, this isn't going very well, and these guys may get away with this?
I said that to myself during the opening statements.
Why?
They weren't thorough enough. Didn't get aggressive enough. I don't think they didn't cover enough in the opening statement to really talk about what happened to Kelly.
I mean, the jury heard this right here. I started smashing the face of the other. Heard that, didn't they?
Well, they heard that portion, absolutely. They seen the entire video up front, got to watch it all without explanation. They were just allowed to watch it. And as it progressed, the aggressiveness of the defense attorneys, though they fabricated an awful lot of what they said, they continued to drive those points, even though they were false, and they made it very believable to the jury. If I were an outside person or a jury member, I would have believed a lot of what they had to say, just by the delivery. I'm really disappointed in our system that allows the defense to come in and say whatever they want, and they don't have to substantiate it, they don't have to prove that it's true. I absolutely agree that if you're going to prosecute somebody, you need to have the facts and the truth. But I think we need a change here, that if you say any words at all in court, they all need to be true and they all need to be backed up with fact. That goes for the defense too.
Well, why do you think there'll be a different outcome, same jury from the same area, on the civil matter?
I'll let Mr. Martirosyan answer the civil case.
I mean, are you fearful that the same thing's going to happen in the civil case?
Quite honestly, I haven't even cared about the civil case. I'm serious. It's all about this murder case, and now it's about Department of Justice stepping in. We don't even talk about the civil case, quite honestly, very seldom. We have this agreement. I'll go out and do what I do with Kelly's Army, the protests, whatever, helping the DA, and he does his thing, and somewhere we meet in the middle. So really those are his answers. I'm not afraid of it, but I'm very, very cognizant that anything can happen in a court of law. Anything can happen. And I got to tell you that no matter if these guys were found guilty or not guilty, none of us would be happy. There's nothing to be happy about. Grateful, yes, if they were found guilty. Absolutely grateful, but not happy.
So you weren't totally stunned when the words "not guilty" came out yesterday?
No, I learned a long time ago, especially in the Sheriff's Academy, they teach you that when you're responding to a horrific scene, a possible horrific event, expect the worst, prepare for the worst. I learned that in my Army career. Expect the worst. You go in expecting the worst, it's not so bad, you're okay. If you've prepared for it, it's easier to deal with.
You think a different prosecutor would make a difference, or are you pleased with what Mr. Rackauckas did, or how he did it?
Actually, both. I'm okay with both. I feel that somebody else would have done a different job, absolutely. But I really have to thank and appreciate the efforts that Tony Rackauckas did. He's the only one who has ever done it in Orange County's history. It's a very bold step to do this, and at least he tried. The assistant DA was there. The lead homicide deputy DA was on the team every day. Have you ever heard of, I never have, where a family member can actually go into private meetings with the district attorney and his team and help strategize and plan? I was there a lot. I talked with them a lot. They invited me to send all the emails I wanted to, and they always answered me.
Did you ever tell them, hey, this isn't going well, what can you do about it?
No.
Never did?
No. I appreciate everything they did.
If you could say something to any juror, what would it be?
I would want to know how they came up with the not guilty verdict. That's what I'd want to know. Because I'm puzzled. So that's what I'd want to know, is what brought you to that conclusion. And I think that's a fair question.
Well, you did, the U.S. defense part responded to your comments about them lying during the trial to saying something along the lines, every fact they presented, everything they said, the prosecution had a right to challenge. It did challenge a lot of items that were introduced. Everything was vetted, so how can you say they continually lied?
Barnett did not substantiate Kelly's alleged drug use. When it comes down to it, it was a statement Kelly made, 18 years ago to a psychologist in a private doctor's visit. And the psychologist wrote that out, that Kelly stated that he had used meth in 10th grade but hadn't used it since. There hasn't been any proof, and Rackauckas did bring this out. Kelly never failed a drug test in his life. He was never cited or arrested for being in possession of or under the influence of any illegal substance ever in his life, but Barnett ran with chronic meth use. And that's just bogus. And then Schwartz, right in his closing, his final argument, Schwartz said, and it was my client who told the EMTs to go take care of that man over there. Well, we know that's not true. The fire captain paramedic said he noticed Kelly in the gutter. He testified to it, and he said, "Who is that?" and walked over to Kelly and directed his EMTs to start it. That's what I mean by that. Bogus statements.
Are you prepared for the feds to tell you we're not going to take this case?
Yes, absolutely. Anything's possible. Anything's
Do
possible.
you think that's what they'll tell you, or have you been assured that they will take it?
I've been assured, and they're doing this, that they would take a look at it, and that's all I can ask at this point. I trust they'll do a thorough investigation based on what they can find.
Yeah.
Would we ever settle this case, or are you intent on getting them on a stand where you can ask them questions?
We are intent on getting him on the stand. We are not interested in settling this case. This is a case that needs a jury to speak out after they've seen the full story, after they've seen the full evidence. This was a very truncated criminal trial where defendants are offered certain protection because they are criminal defendants, and that's our system. That's not going to be the case in a civil trial. The civil trial will put on a full case where the jury will hear the complete story. None of this hiding behind the Fifth Amendment, not taking the stand. If these officers were so certain of their innocence, why didn't they take the stand?
So there's no amount that they can come back with that you say, okay, we'll settle, you want to...
There's not.
Mr. Thomas, have you lost faith in the system?
I've lost faith in the fact, like I just stated, to where defense attorneys can come in and make up what they want, and they don't have to prove what they're saying. I don't agree with that at all.
With the jury system itself?
Yes, the jury system is great, but it's what they're allowed to be told. And I don't understand all the legalities, of course, you know, objections, lacks foundation and all this. What the heck does that mean? I'm a lay person. Why can't we just go in with the truth, deliver the truth to the jurors, and let it fall where it will? I mean, things are what they are. That's the way I think. Not necessarily black and white. There are gray areas all around us. But why do we have to have so many legal loopholes and things like that? Let's just go with the truth, and it is what it is.
Mr. Wright, a time frame, Mr. Wright, for the civil case, any kind of time frame at all?
Time frame is that it'll be any time in the next 6 to 12 months. We expect to get this before a jury.
If the feds decide to prosecute, that'll take precedent?
If the feds decide to prosecute, there may be a delay, but then again, it just depends on the particular judge and whether they want to go forward, because they've already been tried in state court, and some judges will allow the civil case to go forward, some won't. But that's only if the feds decide to take the case to another level. All right, thank you very much, everyone.
I've got one more when we're ready. Just switch to this right here.
Okay.
I just wanted you to repeat a point you made away from the microphone. Ready to go.
Which point is that?
It's the one where you were talking about, you believe they were talking with dollars.
Oh.
But one second, you just...
I'll do it here.
Say about the mics on this
All right, no, I will do that here.
You're away from the microphone.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we have it.
I think, say when.
You just switch it up with this right there.
He's ready.
Right. We all have to remember that these officers knew things that Kelly did not know. Kelly did not know he was being recorded, whether by video or audio, but the officers did know that they had cameras up on poles around the city. And they had their own digital audio recorders, what they refer to as DARs. And so often they would gratuitously say things like, oh, he's fighting, he's resisting arrest, stop fighting, stop fighting. Even as they're bludgeoning him, they would say he's fighting, he's resisting arrest. They're saying that all for the benefit of people later that will listen to this, so they could have an excuse. When Kelly was down and out, they're still saying he's fighting. If we let go of him, if we undo the handcuffs, he's going to get up and fight. They knew better. They're just doing that for their audio recorders so they could fool us, and that maybe they could fool a jury at some point in the future. When the jury listens to that and says, well, the officers were saying at the time, he's fighting, so he must have been fighting. No. No. This is a part of testifying. This is a part of what some officers learn in the academy, how to get up on that stand and lie.
One other part where Cicinelli's attorneys argued that he went through his training progressions. He tried the dry stun on the taser, he then stepped back, fired the taser, then tried to close the circuit, and when he got on top, they played that video where it looked like it may have been Kelly's hand grabbing the taser, and that's when
All right. So we know that Kelly's down. He's got 4 or 5 people on him. Cicinelli now gets on top of the pile, and just before he gets on top of the pile, he does dry stun him. He does shoot the darts out that go into Kelly's body, and shocks Kelly numerous times. Another officer happens by, Kenton Hampton, who touches the wires and gets shocked himself, and he steps back. But Cicinelli figures, okay, maybe I can't use the electric charge that I'm sending through his body, 50,000 volts for 5 seconds, completely immobilizing Kelly. Any one man should have been able to take care of Kelly. 5 of them, and then Cicinelli gets on top of the pile, starts hitting him in the face. The only time you could strike a suspect in the face is when your life or other people's lives are threatened by that suspect. Kelly Thomas was not threatening anybody, was not a threat to anybody's life, and yet they continued to bludgeon him. And then Cicinelli still made gratuitous statements to help himself, to say, I ran out of options. What options? Step back, get in your car, call for help, call for an ambulance to take care of this young man. He had options. It wasn't to beat him to death.
I want to take that answer just a little further to complete your question there. Any one of us, let's just say we're playing catch with the ball and it comes right towards your face. What are we going to do? We're going to put our hands up. It's a reflex action. This taser is coming down in his face. Which one of us, anybody anywhere, is going to lay there and say, gee, I guess I deserve this, and not put their hands up? It's our body reaction to defend ourselves. So he's like, quit doing that, and he's all over like this. I would grab it, you would grab it, everybody would grab the arm and the taser to make him quit hitting him in the face. That's what he was doing, not this nonsense from Barnett or Schwartz. He's grabbed my defendant's weapon, and you can never relinquish your weapon, and he had no choice but to do what he did. No, he's defending himself. That's all he was doing, because he's getting beat in the face. And that's why he's doing that.
Ms. Thomas, you said that you were prepared for the worst, the verdict. Is there some specific moment during the trial that you really felt there was a turning point, or that you felt that really, it may not be the outcome that you're looking at? Is there a specific, watershed moment?
No. Maybe. Barnett, with all his charisma, and that's part of his persona, he likes to charm the jurors. He would start telling them jokes, simple little jokes, and the jurors are just smiling ear to ear, laughing at his little jokes. And I'm thinking, what kind of rapport is this that he has already? I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate it. But then I thought, because a couple of the jurors were weeping at watching this video and hearing Kelly cry for me, okay, well maybe maybe we're back to even now. But it never went that way. I never felt confident though.
You never felt confident?
Not anything that goes, hey, we got him. Nothing like that. But then again, nothing that ever said, we've lost this. I've never felt strong either way.
Hiding behind the Fifth Amendment and not testifying, it tells us a lot about what's going to happen in a civil trial, while that's going to be far more different than what happened in this criminal trial. And the burden of proof is far more different, and we'll be putting on a case that's going to last a lot more than just 2.5 days of evidence, because we had 2 days of foundation and about 2.5 days of witnesses. This is a trial that will likely take 2-3 weeks at least in our case in chief, if not longer. It may very well take 4 weeks just to put our case on, much less the defendant's case. So justice will be done. We're again thankful that the DA did bring charges. We're hopeful that the federal government will step in and the federal prosecutor will bring charges. But no matter what, we're not going to stop. We're going to make sure that Kelly's death does not go in vain, and that we have the jury ultimately find these officers liable for their conduct. Just remember what happened to O.J. Simpson. He got away with 2 murders initially. He didn't go to jail for that. and then in a civil prosecution, he was found liable and liable to pay over $28 million. So that's an example or a lesson to be learned.
When was the case filed?
It was filed a while ago. We've been in stay in Orange County in front of Judge Kirk Nakamura, and stay because we were waiting for the criminal cases to end so that the defendants would not keep taking the Fifth Amendment to shield themselves. And so now we'll be able to go forward, take their depositions, and get to the truth, and tell a jury the full story, not an abbreviated, not just a little section of a story, but the full story. And I'm very confident that a jury anywhere, including Orange County, where there are some great people, and we've won cases there, civil rights cases, where a jury will come back with a verdict in favor of the plaintiffs.
Garo, please say your full name, just so we pronounce it.
My name is Garo Martirosyan. Martirosyan, put together for Martirosyan. First name is Garo. And thank you, folks. You want to speak Spanish? No, unfortunately, my daughter was here, she could do it, but she's not here. No, I apologize. But, let me go back to my days where I speak Spanish, but no. I can abstain.
My next big project is going to be huge. I have to go through Sacramento to get this done.
Not
To change the police officer bill of rights.
What would you like to do?
That because police officers are public servants,
I can